What's up everyone? Welcome back to another video. This is gonna be a little bit of a different series that I'm gonna try to put together each week. I'm gonna call it trick tips or something along those lines. If you have a better name, mention it in the comments and I'll definitely consider it. This series is basically about the little things that get overlooked in most build videos. I'm talking about like tie wire tips, how I route the wiring harness, even down to like connectors and things like that. And also in today's case, how I kind of create my own triple clamp stop so that the clip-ons don't hit the tank when at full turn. Now, it's very common for most of these bikes from the 70s. The moment that you put clip-ons on, there is the chance that you could definitely dent the tank by just turning the bike. There's a couple ways to mitigate that. There's buying a brand new clamp, which we're not gonna do. We're gonna use the stock one. Or you can come up with another way to create stoppers so that it can't turn fully and hit the tank and dent it. There's nothing worse than putting the entire bike together and then realizing that you have an issue and you have to be super careful. No matter what you do, at some point when you put the bike on the kickstand and it just naturally falls, you're gonna dent the tank. So I'm gonna show you how I do it. It's very simple. This video should be really short. All you really need is a grub screw, a tap, and a way to drill a hole straight. So let's jump into the video. I think you guys are gonna like this. You can take this information, put it onto your bike, and like I said, it just makes for a better end user experience. I have the clamp put into the vise right here, and I've cleaned up the surfaces of the actual stoppers themselves just so I can see what I'm doing. The next thing to do is kind of measure this out and find center on each of these flats here. That's where we're going to be drilling. You want to make sure that you're dead center because there's not much material here, and if you went sideways or it kind of went to one side or the other, you might end up blowing through the side of it and kind of ruining the clamp. So just be very careful. Make sure that you measure and double check it before you place your mark, but you're going for dead center in the middle of these flats here. Now, one other thing that I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna look at the top of the clamp here and I'm gonna draw a line on where I want my hole to be angled. These do not sit completely flat. So if you were to use like a drill press or something, you have to have this clamp angled in a way so that it drills straight through, but at an angle that is acceptable for this stopper. So marking the top of it, because I'm gonna be drilling it face up on this face, if I mark the top of this where I want the hole to start and end, then it gives me a reference point that I can line up with my drill bit in the drill press. All right, so now that I have the holes marked out on the clamp, I need to drill the hole. Now, this isn't just any size hole. It's actually a drill bit that is sized for a 5mm, and I think it's a 0.80 thread pitch grub screw. Now, the grub screw goes in and it has a jam nut on it that will keep it in place. So this gives me a little bit of adjustability, especially when it comes to the position of the clamps or the clip-ons for the rider position, and I can move it in or out and then lock it in place with that jam nut. So right now I'm gonna look up what size I need drill bit, and I'm gonna bring this over to the drill press and drill those holes so I can tap them. So I have the clamp kind of jigged up here in the drill press, and I'm using this vise to clamp each side of the machined edge of the clamp itself. Now I know that that's gonna give me a completely vertical and perfect angle, and then on this side right here I have like a 1-inch shim just out of some square bar that I had that is kind of giving me the angle of the actual stopper itself. So we're ready to drill, and let's jump into that. I'm going to use a smaller drill bit first to kind of drill a pilot hole, and then I will bring my actual size drill bit for the tap and finish it off. And now I need to reset it. Here I'm actually going to pull this drill bit out without moving the clamp at all. because I want to stay in the same position to drill this second hole that will bring us to our final size. All right, so I'm back at the vise and the holes are drilled and I kind of cleaned up the outside of them. But now all you have to do is tap them. Now this is a 5mm 0.80 thread tap, and I'm gonna run it through the backside because if I were to do it from the front, there's some things that this tap will hit and it really doesn't matter. I can just run it all the way through and then the actual like grub screw will go in from the front. So let's do that right now. I'm gonna use a little bit of cutting fluid. You wanna take your time with this. This is a cast steel clamp, so just be careful. If you rush it, you might break the tap itself or you might crack one of these, so just take your time. All right, so now that I have the holes tapped, I put the grub screws in and I kind of set them to where I think they're gonna be, but I can go in later and adjust them and then tighten up this jam nut to make sure that they stay in place. Now I probably will run a little bit of blue Loctite in here just to kind of make sure that they don't back out, but from here it's pretty much done and we're ready to put this back on. So now that the front end is all complete, I can make my adjustment by just turning out the grub screw, tightening up that jam nut, and now for the moment of truth. As you can see, we've fixed our problem. So you can adjust the length of those grub screws to make more clearance or less. It's all about just kind of figuring out what works for your bike and setting them to that. Now the same for the other side, it doesn't hit the tank, and so we are good to go. Now this clamp is gonna come back off again because I'm gonna get it powder coated, but at least most of the work is done and we're ready to move on to the next step. All right, so that's it for this video. I hope you learned something. Hopefully you can do that to your bike so that you don't hit the tank with your clip-ons. I think this information is extremely valuable. I know that I would want it when I first started out and kind of tried to piece all of this together by myself. So hopefully you found some value in it. If you did, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button because it really helps with the algorithm. And if you're already a subscriber here, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. But until the next video, see ya.